something had to stem out of Becky having a name that was difficult to pronounce. Because at some point in her life, someone was reading her name and said Becky something. Like, let's just say she's 12 years old, and that it stuck forever. And I find Polish names very appealing to say and to look at as written. And I wanted her to be named Rebecca. I think the name Rebecca Adamczyk is like a name that when you hear it, you have a very clear idea of what that young girl would have been like. And like it just is a real name to me. Like I really believe that that is the name of a real person who has a stage name.
I bet it is.
Adam.
And one of our producers, Adam Petrovitz.
Yeah, you have a proposed name and a life producer, as well.
Yeah, great guy, Adam Petrovitz.
Is that his kid in the movie?
Yeah, and Adam's son.
The star.
Adam's son plays baby Tama.
Really?
Is that after the drum set?
What?
Was that after the drum set? Tama drums?
No, someone asked me that.
Because those are, someone already asked me.
But that came up, and I wanted Becky to give her daughter, not like today, but like in the last year that came up. I didn't know this because I don't know here. Maybe you asked me that. I don't know. Someone brought that up, and no, I wanted her to, because she has these spiritual beliefs and she believes in a lot of. I wanted her to give her daughter like a cultural name that she doesn't really have any claim to. And Tama is like a Native American word for lightning.
Interesting.
And I thought that was like a name that Becky and Dirtbag Danny would think was appropriate for a child. And they would feel like that's cool. We should.
That drum brand I really associate just in all the videos I used to watch in the late 80s. Tama was like such a big thing. I was like, that's amazing. Wow,
I didn't know this until well into the movie. Maybe even we just saw them on Saturday, I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, so it's sort of like that's kind of part of Becky's beliefs, and just picturing her and Dirtbag naming that kid is really like a weird thing to me.
I have a side question. Do you feel like the spiritual people around her knew, like at night when she would go to bed, they're like, we're not living up to our we know something's not right here with this, like, because they seem so clearly just on her side because she's paying them. But I just wonder, I did have a thing when watching the movie because everyone's making choices to ignore what's happening. Even the people who are, even the father, bringing a baby there, I would have been like, get the baby out. Like even the people who seem like they're the most together are also kind of just, everyone's, because she's the person that's drawing these people. But I am just curious, like, to what extent do you feel like a personality like that keeps people around that have a sense of, like, would you have stayed in the band?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have stayed in the band with people like this, metaphorically speaking. Yeah, I have many people like this, and I'm very much empathizing with Mari and Allie that it's just like, I wish I could, but this is my life.
That's how you feel?
That's what about some people.
Right. So you're in a bunch of different bands.
A couple, yeah. Without, actually, I mean, metaphorical bands.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
You're in metaphor. All right. Yes, and then I'll go out there. I'll go past the
Mine is actually just more of a statement to give you credit. The last act
Where this is going.
where they're looking for her.
Yeah.
They're ready to go on stage. I don't remember the last movie that I was actually nervous that how they would find her. And that build-up, I just wanted to give you applause for that.
I'm going to repeat this because it's such a nice compliment. He's complimenting how, I can't remember the last movie, he was actually as nervous in as he was when they're looking for Becky, and there's this suspicion that no one really knows what's going on.
But we argued about this, remember? Because this is the one section of the movie that I rescored and gave you because for me, I was like, this is all leading up to whether or not she's going to have relapse or not. And so I did a whole pass of that act where it was like building this tension, building it, until the shot where they turn the corner and they see her and it's her back and she's at the edge of the stage, at the end of the hallway. And I remember Alex was like, no, you don't get it. The point of this act is her deliverance of like performing the song live, right? Do I remember?
Yeah, it was the question isn't did she or did she not relapse, but it's also will she or will she not pull off the performance? And we can't peak when they find her. We have to not really peak until she's in those stage lights. It was just deciding where the sort of denouement would be.
But I think it's it says something really interesting about the density of her character, how you built her. That it's like And then even when they say like they want more, do you want more, one more song that she's not interested in? I think it's like what makes her and Elizabeth's bring her life so interesting because it's not.
Yeah, I mean that's like if there's an answer to that, it's the movie clearly kind of in even in odd number acts like exists in this sense of public and private.
Yeah.
Where 1, 3, and 5 are Becky as a public performer, and 2 and 4 are ostensibly Becky in private. But in Act 2, she's still, despite being in a room with just her closest collaborators, still acting like she's playing to the crowd, and she's still being Becky something.
She's being recorded.
Yeah, she's still, even though it's just us here in the studio, she's still being Becky something. She's not being Rebecca with just her bandmates. And the kind of public-private push-or-pull means that when you get to Act 5, you can pay it off twice. You can pay it off for the public, who thinks Becky's back and she still got it. And then you can pay it off for her bandmates, which are more like, we don't really actually know what the future holds. But everyone out there just got the show they wanted. And the legend of her will live, whether she ever plays again. But for us, we know that like this is just part 3 of infinite of her recovery process.
Yes, you.
First of all, that was excellent and very moving, and inspiring also to see powerful women portrayed on the screen.
Yay.
With kind of the subjects of women and race in conversation a lot lately. It was a predominantly white film that also did really prominently feature women. But how did you navigate that from a creative point of view? So deciding how to cast it, how to tell this story, represent people fairly, and yeah, tough choices to make. So I wanted to ask
Well,
about
sure.
that.
Just everyone get that? Or should Jason repeat it? Yeah, I mean, like, you got it?
I
No.
can hear you. No, I can hear you.
I mean, if we can hear it, I'm sure everyone
Yeah.
can hear it. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, other than Lizzie, who was always involved with the movie, like, we only have 7 female, we only have these 7 lead roles. And I probably talked to, 60 actresses for every, for all of the roles said and done. And ultimately, like, you're just putting it together for the chemistry of who's already in the movie, and you can only cast one person for each role. So, like, part of it is just, if you're being completely honest and you have up in the office, as we do, 1,000 images of every single female rock band of this time, there's not a single face on that wall that's not white. Just like, this is a fact, this is every, not literally every single one, because there are exceptions, but like, if we have 1,000 images up on the walls, this is 99% of them. And like, that's just kind of what I'm looking at when we're casting the movie. That doesn't mean that we didn't meet with every single actress who read the script and responded to it. It just means that for whatever reason, there's no version of, in my mind, like these 7 women not being these characters. Once I met them all, they were just destined to be the characters in the movie. But like, it's totally true, but it's,
You also ended up bringing people that I feel like you met Agnes and you had these like relationships. You always end up like meeting with people about a project, and then they like graduate through. They don't end up on that project, and then 3 projects later they're there because you end up writing something specifically for that.
Yeah, like I guess I had met on another project that never happened, so I do kind of, at this point, have the very bizarre privilege of having met a lot of actors who I haven't worked with, who I can then kind of very quickly be like, do you want to be in this? So like Agnes is there right away, and then, chemistry just becomes what it is, and you can ultimately only cast one person for each role.
I think that I was watching this and I thought that Eric Stoltz did a really good job in like showing out the like frustrations of that character while also being a good source of humor in the story. And I was thinking, and I thought, who else could do this role? And I could only think of someone like Eric Stoltz. So I asked.
I like where this is going.
Of course. Well, I asked, was he your first choice when you were writing the character?
Questions about how we arrived at Stoltz for Howard. I could not figure out what Howard was. I knew his function in the story, and every suggestion that people had in the process I'm describing, where you kind of end up hearing about actors and meeting with them, every suggestion made no sense. Like, I just, I heard some of the weirdest submission ideas, and every one of them I was just like, that's kind of not quite it. And I was driving back from visiting my dad in Philadelphia one night, and I just had this weird vision on the road in front of me. I was like, oh my God, Eric Stoltz. He's what I'm looking for. And I've looked him up before, and I realized he hasn't acted so much in the last decade or so. He directs a huge amount of television. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know that he lived in New York. I didn't know he's the kind of guy that shows up 20 minutes early on his own, on foot, gets through makeup and wardrobe, and is immediately available all day. I didn't know anything. I just thought, that's the guy. Every time I said to someone he's in the movie, they go, I haven't seen that guy in a while. What happened? Is he kind of like weird looking now? And I was like, no, he's incredible looking. He's boyish and handsome, and he's, you know, a little gray in his beard and his hair. Like, yeah, I just could never figure it out. And the second I thought of him, we went right to him, and then miraculously, without ever even meeting me, he agreed to be in it for what he called his first substantial acting role in 8 or 9 years.
He's so great in it. And you told me when you met with him that you had this like fruit salad with him at a diner, and I never, you know, it was like the first thing you told me, but you were so happy to have met him, and you also you raved about the freshness of the fruit, and it's so funny, and I thank you for that, because you know, things get paired in your brain, and when I look at him now, I think of this cantaloupe that you described, and I'm happy that that's part of
Yeah,
my life.
so he agreed to be in the movie in January, and then it was early April, and I hadn't met yet, because he works on a TV show that shoots, you know, until around then. And finally it came time. Well, 2 things happened. One, this is like a Stoltz, just like these are the kinds of things he does. I'm supposed to Skype with him. I'm told his Skype name, which is not Eric Stoltz. And I
It's
type
not
it.
Eric Stoltz, that's what it is?
No, I'm
Oh.
saying it's something that doesn't necessarily make sense.
Right.
And I type it in, and there are 2 users with that name. One of the locations is listed as, I don't know what, something that makes sense. And the other one says Zimbabwe. And I'm calling the one that is not Zimbabwe for 20 minutes. And then finally I get a thing that's like, Eric's on and he's waiting. And I finally just think, I guess I'll call the Zimbabwe one. And I pressed it, and there he is. And I was like, why does your thing say Zimbabwe? And he goes, oh, I think I was there when I set up my Skype. And I was like, well, that's strange. And then we go to a diner a couple weeks later, and it's one of those like 80s hole-in-the-wall New York diners that's just is miraculously still there. And yeah, it was like the kind of diner where you don't want to eat anything, that like everything is frozen and then deep fried. And he ordered the fruit salad. I didn't want to offend him, so I ordered it as well. And it was so good. It was so cold and refreshing. And we were there, and some guy comes up to him and was like, I just want to say, I hate to interrupt, I'm a big fan. My son's name is Eric. He goes, mine too. And he goes, with a K or with a C? And then the guy goes, with a C. And he goes, mine too. And I was just like, man, this guy is, I love this guy. And that was but a taste of the next 2 months of my life.
Question over, I saw there was one back, okay, yes, and then you, we'll go triangle.
Is that me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I just wanted to say at one point, I got really nervous, and I thought that maybe she was going to kill herself, and I was just like, no, like, please don't do that. And then the ending really surprised me, and I just thought it was, like, so well done. I was curious, you kind of talked about this, like, but if you thought of potentially ending it in a different way, and also, what inspired you to make this movie?
See, the first one was I can answer very quickly. Question was,
What inspired you to make the movie was the second question, and the first
make it
one.
ending in a different way.
You know, did you ever consider ending the film in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, from the very first line that she says after the flashback, I was just on fire tonight. Take your stupid microphone. You know, the first thing you hear her say, she says 3 or 4 times, I always flirt with death. So you're kind of pointing at it right away. But again, in the sort of theatrical conceit, you can do a bit of misdirect and a bit of, you know, false. You can allude to something that you're not actually going to deliver on. But what I did, I outlined the whole movie. And then I wrote a draft of Acts 1 through 4. And then I wrote a second draft of Acts 1 through 4. And then I went back to the outline to check and see what I thought Act 5 would be. And I didn't believe in it at all anymore. And everything that I had believed Act 5 would entail no longer was anything I was interested in. And I just rewrote Act 5 based on my new relationship with these characters after having done 2 drafts of 1 through 4 for 3 or 4 months. And yeah, I just felt at that point like Becky deserved this ending, as opposed to whatever my other ideas had been, which were much bleaker. So you kind of have this fun thing where you're pointing at something for 4/5 of a movie, and then the writer just decides that that's not where the movie's going, but because of the structure, you can pull at a thread and the whole movie won't become unspooled. You can change things as much as you want. And yeah, by that point, I just really believed in some sort of redemption.
I still think it's so hilarious / amazing that you were writing this movie either right after or sort of overlapping with when you were writing Christopher Robin.
Yeah.
So you're like writing for Winnie the Pooh and then also for Becky something.
Yeah, in the same day, many times. Yeah, entirely overlapping.
Did you ever send a file to the wrong people?
Yeah, I would do that. No, I didn't.
Although that does, we should get somebody to cut together her dialogue over Pooh.
I think that somebody is you. No, I did work on them at the same time. They kind of went hand in hand for me, honestly. Like, just the process was very weirdly intertwined in terms of the diligence. And like, something I learned on writing that was like, you can give supporting characters a sort of believable subplot, like a C plot. Just with a line of dialogue in Act 1, a line of dialogue in Act 3, and then a payoff on whatever that is in Act 5. And I tried to do that with Dirtbag Danny and with like, you know, sort of what happens to Yaima, and I try to do that with showing that Allie has this kind of relationship that we don't ever see, but by Act 5, after she storms out in Act 3, she's found this husband and has made music with him, and you know, Mari and Lauren have had a baby. Like, just trying to make sure that the little things of the dozen supporting characters have some sense of payoff, just for a second in Act 5. Yeah, what inspired the movie? That's such a long answer. I just wanted to make a music movie, and I tried to make a 60s pop movie that both of these guys were involved with. Jason's going to be in it. Keegan wrote a bunch of 60s pop musics, that's what they're called, right?
Yes.
Music's great.
Yes, yes.
Thanks,
Maybe that's why I didn't get an A.
yeah, thanks. I made this whole movie. I call it Musics. And it just didn't happen. I was writing a 90s sitcom pilot at the time. It also never happened. And somehow the ashes of those two things became like, oh, I want to make my music movie, but I want it to be like the era I grew up in. I want it to be my music and my culture and my bands. And yeah, I just felt like no one's ever made that. I'm about the same distance away from this as Todd Haynes was when he made Velvet Goldmine from 70s glam. It's like a 20-year delay. So it just felt like the thing to do rather than looking back at an era that I didn't even live through.
But what about the structure of doing it in these long?
How are we doing on time, by the way?
Last question.
Oh, sorry. Last question. Can we just do 1-2? Can we do a 1-2 punch real fast? Because I promised.
All right, quick. Just in the past few years, especially, I've noticed seemingly increasing number of films that feature a protagonist that is a female celebrity singer or musician. So you already kind of mentioned a little bit about what inspired you to do that, but I wondered if you had any insight as to why that might be a trend that's cropping up more often nowadays.
No, I have no idea. It's a fun thing to make. It's fun to cast. I don't know. Who knows? I didn't know about the existence of any of these other things when I was writing this movie in 2016. I think they're all really different. I mean, I really like some of these movies you're clearly referring to, and I think some of them are just unjustifiable garbage. I'll let you figure out which ones I'm talking about. Next question.
First of all, congrats. That was a really good movie. A common friend of ours that has a Skype account in Zimbabwe told us we should see it because he's very proud of it. And it was amazing. And I was just wondering how the climate on set was because all the scenes were so intense and claustrophobic and you know, we were on the edge of our seats. But how was the climate like when the camera was off? Was it like was everybody getting into this intense feeling, or was it just like?
Yeah.
That's nice, baby. He's a joker.
Stoltz keeps the set light. I mean, the only thing I believe in is being good at your job, is making sure that everyone is happy to come to work. And we had this big, beautiful sound stage where we built both of these backstage corridors. And, you know, we built like a lounge with a bunch of couches, and people ate, and all the actors hung out together. And people sat, all the green rooms you see on screen, people just hung out in them as though they were the green room. And the mood was total collaborative. I mean, it's a crew of 50 people that have worked together dozens of times, 4 times for me and many, many other times with each other. And we only brought it together of, you know, the bare minimum number of crew, but everyone had to be there because they really thought this would be a very fun experience, and that the wrap party, you know, the production team who built these sets, the makeup and wardrobe department, certainly the hair department, every single department at some point took me aside at our bowling wrap party and was like, I just want you to know, like, this is the kind of dream gig that, like, this is the creative thing I've always wanted to do, and I got to put so much of myself into this work, and, you know, this was really the one. And I was like, wow, a lot of people have been telling me that tonight. Okay, that's not why I'm telling the story. But thank you. No, it just was like, everyone was just so excited, because everyone on the movie, I gave the opportunity to push themselves further than they generally get to. To say to a wardrobe designer and hair and makeup, you get no do-overs in this. Every look you're putting forward, we are looking at for 25 minutes. So it has to be perfect, head to toe, every piece of glitter. Like, you can't half-ass any of this. And that makes people step it up. And then they're really amazed by how they feel when they step it up. And again, it's my fourth movie with Keegan, my third with Lizzie, the fourth with the costume designer, fourth with hair and makeup. It's just...
I mean, once we stopped making movies with Jason, stuff just took off. I feel like I don't know what that was.
You know, there's many like being all through history, and no.
But no, it's really, I mean, it was a charmed time. Yeah, 1 year ago Monday.
He really does. The sets working on Alice movies really are the best because everyone is together and it really is like a family. And anyway, thank you for making that movie. I think it's really beautiful.
Well, thank you all for coming and supporting it. Opening night weekend here in LA. And yeah,
Spread the word, please. Spread the word.